Life in 3 dimensions got me bent and got me twisted. I know I done said a lot, but I should probably stop pretending. I don't really hold the key and I can't really push a button. I just step up to the mic and try my very best to bust it, but I ran out of breath. It's tight in my chest. My feet just might fail. I can't stand the pressure.
Oh, it didn't count down. I thought it would count down.
It did.
Oh, it did?
No,
Okay, I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Racially Speaking. It is I, David Phipps, your host. And if you're watching, which shout out to YouTube, you should be watching us on YouTube. But if you are already, you see that I've got a returning guest, my good friend Elana Horowitz. Elana was on, man, I think you're episode 30-ish, way back. You guys should go back and listen to that. Elana's awesome. However, the tone of that conversation and this conversation, I think, will be drastically different. But who knows? Okay, Elana, you have come fresh off of a plane. Yes, Monday. You said Monday. So at the time of recording, it's Wednesday. Elana is just completed her first year as an NFL cheerleader, and not just any NFL team, but the reigning Super Bowl champions as of 3 days ago. Elana, congratulations.
Thank you. It's insane. I still can't believe it.
Oh my gosh. Crazy. I didn't have a dog in the fight. I'm not people on here know I don't follow the NFL a ton, but look, Caitlin and I, our hearts were with you, so we were Eagles fans for the day because we were like, we just want Elana to be a Super Bowl champion.
Feels good.
Oh my gosh.
It feels really
That's
good.
Crazy. Well, thank you for carving out some time. I guess you have a little bit more time now that the season's over, but oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the season if I thought I would be here, I would have been like, probably not. Not because I don't believe in my team, but just statistically speaking.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Did not see this coming.
Crazy. Okay, so this conversation is going to be super unique because we might get into some more justice-oriented questions. But honestly, for the most part, like I told you before we hit record, I wanted to ask you some cheerleading questions and cheerleading culture. And I did my research. And by research, I mean Caitlin and I, about 6 months ago, watched, I think it's called America's Sweethearts. We watched that Cowboys documentary or Cowboys cheerleaders documentary
which I have not
on
seen.
Netflix. You have not seen it. I reached out to you way back when we were watching because I was very interested. We watched it because I think Caitlin heard that it was really good, and we'll watch any good documentary that's out. Fantastic documentary, really, really well done. Very interesting.
I heard that.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So, okay, here's some of my I've got some questions slash thoughts. We watched that documentary, and I would say, like you said, you haven't seen it. The backdrop, as any good documentary, I think was for the most part to be objective and just documenting what the culture is like, what it's like to be an NFL cheerleader. I mean, it was the Cowboys specifically, but NFL cheerleader overall. And at the end, I think I don't know if you were, and I think this is the sign of a good documentary, but I don't know if you were supposed to root for I think you were supposed to root for the women in general, but I don't know if you're supposed to root for the culture or raise a red flag of oh man, this is toxic, this is bad, or somewhere in between. So, okay, here's the main thing that stuck out to Caitlin and I, and we thought immediately of you, because for those of you who don't know, we know Elana because we shot her and her amazing husband Dan's wedding. Has it been 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years. 2 years ago. Amazing wedding. We went into that last episode, so go back and listen to that. But we remember that you, since we've known you, have your dream, as you said, has been to be an NFL cheerleader. I think at one time it might have been the Ravens. So I don't know if there's a story like that. Okay, but we were with the Eagles. Yeah. And
no, I mean, there's not really a story. I tried out for the Ravens, never made it, and finally decided to branch out and made the Eagles. And I think that was really meant to be.
Yeah. Well, obviously you won the Super Bowl, so. Okay, one thing that stood out is that all the women in the documentary had the same goal as you and would say, this has always been my dream. And that was everything. I'm not saying this in a negative way, but that's just in the documentary, everything they cared about. They were, these women were moving to Dallas to stay there even after they got cut, to say, okay, I'm going to try out next year. I'm going to work remote. I'm going to find a random job here, and I'm going to stay here for a year, do nothing but train, because I have to make that team. On top of that, this is a super long question, kind of observation mixed with questions. What was interesting to us is that they not only did that, but I think when I hear that, someone that doesn't know much about this side of sports culture, is I would hear that and think, well, okay, that makes sense. They want to make it and have their career take off as an NFL cheerleader or professional athlete. But most of these women were, like yourself, had full-time, very normal, successful jobs, like had most of them graduated college. There's a few doctors that were doing it, and I found that so interesting. And like yourself, you're a full-time teacher. It wasn't, 18-year-olds just, trying to do this before college or something like that. It was just, man, I want to do this. And the worst part, it was so, so terrible watching them hear that when they didn't make the team, get cut. And maybe you can speak to that too. Are those observations, is that similar to either your experience or how you would say it is on your squad or your team?
Yeah, absolutely. We all have full-time jobs. I'm a high school teacher. We have a couple of other teachers on the team. We have chemists. We have people who are researching cancer. We have a physical therapist, or she's in school, almost graduated. We're very excited for her. We have someone in nursing school. We truly have the gambit. So truly amazing career-driven people. Yeah. We definitely have people who moved to Philadelphia, including myself, because they made the team, which is really exciting. I think a big difference between the two is our audition processes are different in terms of we don't have I think DCC, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, have a month of training camp or something, and you're not even on the team yet, or a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that.
No training camp.
No training camp?
No, they did in that, but you're saying you don't have that.
Oh, yeah. We don't. We have our auditions. The first round is virtual, which is really nice. Okay. So you sign up. They send you a video with a dance. You learn the dance. We actually had to pick our own song, which is cool to also show a little bit of personality. Okay. Yeah.
I think that was the first round as well, and then they get invited to training camp in the doc, if I remember correctly. If they make
we're invited to semifinals, which was this year was a Tuesday, Wednesday night. Tuesday night you learn a new dance. Wednesday night you come back and perform it. Then the next round was a virtual interview. Then the next round was finals, where you choreographed your own dance. And again, that was another Tuesday, Wednesday, where Tuesday night you performed the semifinals dance as a solo as opposed to in a group. And then Wednesday night you came back to do your dance. And a week later, we found out via email, and that was that. So no training camp, no you don't have to move to Philadelphia. You just have to be in Philadelphia those Tuesday, Wednesday nights. Okay. For those 2 times. And then otherwise, everything else is virtual or just a lot shorter.
Okay. Gotcha. Via email?
Via email. Well, actually via website. Okay. You don't even get an email if you're cut. Oh. There's just an audition website, and you just refresh it like crazy. They're like, okay, we're going to announce on, this date. And then you're just refreshing the website, waiting for them to post it.
Okay. In the DCC doc, it was very I don't know, however many, there's the training camp, and they just keep whittling it down little by little. And I mean, it was gut wrenching. They were all at one point sitting, it must have been 40 of them in the stadium, and they had done their last big routine together. I mean, you guys are learning all this stuff to maybe get cut. I mean, I just can't, the mental game, the mental capacity to persevere through like putting it all out there and then boom, yeah, you didn't make it is crazy to me. But I mean, that was gut wrenching. It was, I guess some of them might have found out via email, but at least in the doc, it was like, if you don't hear your name, you're not in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is.
Yeah, that's how it is on Ravens. They have you wait while they deliberate live that day, and then they call numbers. If you call your numbers, you mean it's the next round. If you don't hear your number, you don't. So I've definitely had my experience with that as well, and my no's before I finally got my yes for the Eagles.
What is it like to either to get cut and to see friends get cut? Is it like, do you guys form really tight bonds before the full team is established? Yeah.
You do.
I bet that's hard.
I think that's one of the biggest lies, I guess, that the media really portrays about cheerleaders is that, you know, they portray us as like these dumb, like backstabbing, self-centered people. And that is just not the case.
I can see that.
At auditions, everybody is nothing but kind and generous. I've had girls be like, hey, like, you have lipstick energy, fix that. Or I literally had a girl be like, hey, your hair is like falling out of your curl. My curling iron's on. Do you want me to just fix it for you really quickly? Like, so nice. And that is really the culture all the way through auditions. And you do get close because you're all in this very unique, very stressful situation. This is all of our dreams, and it's such a high level. And there's, you know, at least on the Eagles, there were over 300 people who auditioned this year. And it's a team of, it ended up being a team of 32. So it's just, you know, your heart and soul is just in it, and you're praying and hoping. And I did have one of my best friends got cut after the interview round, and that was really hard. But luckily, it's nothing but supportive.
Yeah.
Like, even she was still so happy for me and has been so happy for me this entire season. And I'm hopeful that she's going to come back out and audition next year, and hopefully next year will be her year. And I even then had people who I didn't know as long who made it all the way to finals with me, and they got cut. And the same thing. It was, I texted her and was like, hey, checking in. How are you? And she was like, okay, there's always a future. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
And that was really the message all the way through.
Can you, that brings me to, so do you have to audition every year? Okay.
You do have to audition every year, which obviously is something really stressful because now almost there's even more to lose because I know what it's like to be on the team. I have all my friends on the team. So it's really tough. Yeah. And auditions are kind of always on everybody's mind a little bit in terms of like, okay, I want to make sure, whatever. But the good news is once you're on the team, you do get to skip a couple of rounds. So like, I don't need to do the first round, and I don't need to do the interview round. Okay. Because they already know me. They don't need to interview me. So I am hopeful for year 2. Is there any way that anyone is guaranteed more than 1 year at a time? Like, not even like unspoken, like, whoa, okay, this person's okay. I thought that was really interesting because it seemed like in the DCC documentary, it was like that. It was like, okay, year to year. But I mean, there was a couple that I was like, I mean, she's clearly like the leader. There's no way she's got a trial, but I mean, she did. And I was like, man, which brings me to this, like, is there a cap on like age or amount of years you can do? There's no cap on age. Okay. And then depending on the team, there's caps on Eagles. It's a 6-year cap. So you can do it for 6 years. And then we had 2 6 years this year on the team. And so once it's your 6th year, everyone knows like, okay, this is every game could be your last when it comes down to the end. So they got to end on a Super Bowl. That's crazy. Crazy. That's the ultimate dream. Wow. Because you can't end on a better note. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. It's very exciting. How long does it take? So are you trying out again? I am trying out again. Okay. Auditions have not been announced yet because obviously we just won the Super Bowl. Parade is on Friday. Yeah. So we're not done with our season even close. Right. But I think auditions would be typically in March or April. My guess this year, because again, our season like just ended technically, it won't be till April. But that is a total guess. Okay. I have no insider information. Gotcha. Are you expected to? Is everything just up to you how you stay in shape and
stay engaged, or do they like do the coaches or what program check in on you? Like, are you, I don't know, making these?
No, for us, it's as long as you can perform at the level that we need to perform at. There's no health or weight or size or anything. Something that I really love about the Eagles specifically as an organization, and especially for the cheerleaders, is that they don't put anything on us. Like, our coach was like, whatever you want to do with your hair, your nails, your makeup, your lip color, your anything, like there's no restrictions. So she was like, if you want to go blonde, it's your hair, go crazy.
Wow. Okay.
Personally, I think I was a good blonde, but whatever. And I could do that mid-season. Like, she's like, once your trading card picture, it's your body. Have at it. As long as you can keep up for a full game, you're good.
Wow. Okay.
Which is really cool and really freeing in terms of that. There's no stress of like maintaining anything.
Yeah.
I do anyways, but
what about do you have to be like in makeup and stuff for practices and stuff? I'm again drawing this from the DCC documentary.
We do not, because practice is practice. We do have, set things to wear at practice, which is we wear our practice sneakers, tights, shorts, and a black sports bra. Black shorts. That way we're all uniform so they can see us perform as a team. Okay. With that said, if you're cold, go put on pants. Go put on a sweatshirt. That's fine. Stay warm. Gotcha. Because they care more about, of course, preventing injury than anything else. Yeah. And then hair doesn't need to be done, but should be done in a way that mirrors game day. So I wear my hair down on game day. Probably you should have your hair down to practice. Okay. But that's not enforced. That's more just that professional awareness of what will be most beneficial to my teammates and myself to get me prepared for game day. Gotcha.
So how many, if you don't mind me asking, how many times did you try out for the Eagles and or the Ravens?
I auditioned for the Ravens, I think 6 times. Okay. And I kept getting good feedback. So I kept going back. Okay. And then kept getting cut. And then kept getting good feedback. And then Eagles, I tried out for twice. Last year, I made it to the interview round and had a tough interview round. The second question I got was, what's the hardest thing you've ever been through? So I talked about the death of my best friend, and then I could just never quite get myself back together to answer the rest of the questions. Okay. Like there. At least we don't get feedback when you get cut. It's just too much for them, which I totally understand. Yeah. Like, hundreds of girls are auditioning. Like, they just can't give feedback to hundreds of people. So that's my self-assessment. I don't know if that's correct. Okay. And then this year I felt more prepared, which is nice because I'd been through the process before and made it. Yeah.
What gave you 6 or 7 times? That is some perseverance. That's some perseverance. Did you ever, what made you keep going?
I wanted it. Okay. I wanted it, and I was close enough that I knew I could do it. I just, I guess it's really cheesy, but I really, really believed in myself of like, I know I can get there. I am so close, and I know I'm close enough. I think for me, had I tried out for the Eagles earlier in my audition arc, I think I would have made this team earlier.
Why is that?
I just think my values and the Eagles' values align better. Okay. Than with the Ravens. And that's no shade at the Ravens. It's just any employer and employee relationship, right? You're going to fit in better in certain places than you do other places. And I just think the Eagles was really, really right for me. That and the Eagles is my actual team. When Dan and I got married, we shared, so Dan is from South Jersey, I'm from Chicago. And so we split our sports teams. So we are a Cubs family, and we are a Liverpool family, and we are an Eagles family. So that was something that we decided years prior. So Eagles really is our team. Okay. Yeah. And so now it's exciting that I get to bring my own side of the story to that.
Man. Yeah, that's crazy. Whoop, just kicked my mic. You said, man, it sounds like the culture sounds really awesome. Overall, really positive there.
Is really awesome. At the Super Bowl after party, Nick Sirianni, I was not there, but Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach, saw some of the cheerleaders sitting at a table, and he went over to them and was like, I just want to say that you guys bring so much to game day. Like, I love everything you guys do. Thank you so much. Can I take a picture with you?
Wow. That's awesome.
I mean, how many head coaches are seeking out cheerleaders to thank them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is, I hope not, but I think it might be. It's just so unique to Eagles.
Yeah.
And this organization really is.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
How common is it? Sorry, let me fix my mic stand real quick.
No, you're good. Fix away.
All right. How common is it for someone like you to get cut from one team and then make a different NFL team squad? Because I did notice that there was no idea what names are, but in that documentary, there was someone who kept trying out. I think she tried out like maybe twice or something, and she was one of the ones. I mean, that got, you said like 32 make the team. I mean, she must have been like 30.
It depends. I think 36 are on DCC.
Okay, she must have been like 38 or 30. It was awful to see her like not make it, and she was one of the people that had moved her whole life and job to train in Dallas the whole time. So saw that, but so there's kind of two layers to this. Is she was specifically cut, I think, because of her size, and she was super small. Like I don't know, she was like very short, just super, super petite. And you see them discussing that off camera before they decided to cut her. And again, she's right on the edge. So it's not like that was just a deal breaker right away. But it was interesting because I think that's maybe where one of the toxic elements came out, because it was, well, if there was a height requirement, why'd you let her go for this whole time? And then now, oh, that's the reason. But then she ended up, I think in the end of the documentary, she made not an appearance, but they had like an aside with her, and she had made the Miami Dolphins. So I was just wondering how common that is, and if that is I don't know, is that something that you've noticed? Because I think people listening might wonder, I think that's a stereotypical toxic like stereotype of cheerleading and cheerleading tryouts, like making the team, is honestly like looks. Like even somebody here and you say, we can kind of do what we want, there's not really any restrictions. To play devil's advocate, I would say, I think maybe people listening be like, yeah, but in some ways I feel like they can say that, but if, you came back super out of shape, it'd be hard to make an argument, be like, oh, that you wouldn't, I don't know, be pulled aside, be like, oh, haven't you been training or something like that? I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. And there's two things to answer. One, it's very common for girls to try out for multiple teams or people, not even just girls. Just because, again, like had I tried out for the Eagles earlier, I think I would have made that team earlier. Yeah. And it's just finding where you fit. In terms of size, I'm wondering specifically for Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, right? One of the things that they are known for is their kick line. Their kick line is so iconic.
Yeah.
And if she really was too short, and it's not that there's necessarily a height requirement, but if that year there weren't other girls who were as short as her, the kick line would be very, very difficult for her and the person she stood next to if there was that much of a discrepancy. Right? Like typically if you line up for kick line, it's the tall girls in the middle and then it kind of goes outward.
Yeah.
So if it was a gradual decrease and there were other shorter people to balance her out, to connect the whole thing, I think it would be fine. But if that year there wasn't, like you can't, it makes it really hard.
Makes sense.
So it might not really have been her size as opposed to her size compared to.
Yeah.
And again, that's, I guess.
No, that rings a bell. That rings a bell. I remember that was a huge thing of the kick
so
line.
Again, it's less about size and more just relativity. And in terms of staying fit, it depends on the team. I can speak for the Eagles that as long as you can perform at the level of performance that you showed at auditions, that's all they care about.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Which I love.
All right.
They really want real people.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Speaking of real people. Okay. And I don't want to get you in any hot water. So tell me if you don't want to speak into this at all. I don't need a specific number, but I'd wonder, because this is another thing that I feel like people listening wonder, and this is what I was wondering, me and Kate, when we're Googling everything, when we were watching this documentary, but why it doesn't seem like, especially as you guys have full-time jobs, successful, great jobs, doesn't seem like you guys make a ton of money, especially compared to an NFL player or coach or whatever. What do you say to people that are like, why are you doing this? It seems like another full-time job, and you already have a full-time job. Not that it's all about the money, but if you are not making a ton and are in this stage of life, why do you think, yeah, obviously you're not the only one. Like, it's a very, 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 what do you say, 300 tryout, like super competitive. Why do you think that you, and what is it about wanting to do this so badly? Because I'd say from like an NFL player, NBA player, stuff like that, some of that's obvious. I mean, there's, you know, they can say they love the game. It's like, well, the money changes my whole life and my family's life, my community's life. That's not why you're doing this. Or that's not why you guys do this. And so I'd wonder what you'd say to that.
There's a couple of things. One, of course, we are still compensated. Yeah. It's not like we're making nothing. Second thing is, this really is a part-time job. Unlike some teams, like we practice twice a week for officially 3 hours each practice, but we all get there an hour early to practice before practice. So we're ready and fresh for practice. So we are compensated for all that time and everything we do. And it really is a part-time job. But the other piece of it is it really is for the love of it. There is no feeling in the world than the first touchdown that we got at our home game, and I got to run out onto the field we have a fight song, the Eagles fight song that is very famous, and to do that dance with 70,000 people singing with you and screaming with you and excited with you. There's no feeling in the world that, regardless of the money, and yeah, it's not as lucrative as a player's position, but also it's not a full-time job at the end of the day, right? Like, it is a part-time job. We are compensated. And the feeling that you get and the opportunities that you get through doing this, and the friendships that you build and the relationships that you make and the difference you still get to make in your community, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I truly wish I could do it every day for the rest of my life.
Oh, man. That's awesome. You're going to go for 6 years?
Probably not at this age, unfortunately, because I have other life plans. Yeah. Like, I would like to have my own children, and it's very hard to cheer while pregnant.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
But I'm hoping for at least 2 or 3.
Yeah. Man, that's exciting. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
Also, thank you. Shout out to the Radford. I think they're the JV squad, but you were so generous. You are friends who are...
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have to send you a
our
thing.
friends who are Eagles fans. Yeah, one of our friends' daughters. I mean, she's our friend too, but this is a JV cheerleader. I think they're the JV team. 8th, 9th grade. Cheerleader here at the local high school, middle school. You carved out some time to FaceTime with them, and they said they loved it and it was awesome. So thank you for...
Yeah, she texted me after the Super Bowl to say congratulations, which is so cute.
Awesome.
And I have to send you, I got my teammates, we have trading cards, so I got my teammates to sign trading cards for them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're
so that's going to be coming your way as well.
Yeah, anyway. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, Super Bowl.
My pleasure. Thanks.
What is it like week to week when it's, NFL playoff, single elimination? How intense is that for you guys? Like
there's nothing in the world.
Yeah, everyone could be your last.
We're so stressed. We're so invested. We're number one fans over here.
Yeah.
So we're all so invested, and especially as we kept getting playoff games at home.
Yeah, amazing.
We got more and more excited because again, football games at home are insane. Playoff football games at home.
Yeah.
There's nothing like Lincoln Financial Field during a playoff game.
And for people that don't know, if you don't have a home game, your cheerleaders aren't there, so you're watching from home. Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah, we only do home games, which is something that I actually really appreciate. Just because, like, I want to be with my fans, and my fans want to be with me. So it's very nice. But then the Super Bowl itself is so different because you're not at home.
Yeah, neutral site.
And I say that in terms of, so at the Super Bowl, technically the home team switches off between the NFC and AFC every year. So technically the NFC was home this year. So we were technically the home team, which means we were on the home side of the stadium, what have you. But it is not a home game. I know I'm not handling it.
Are the fans still split down the middle, or are there like, wait, do the other, or the Chiefs cheerleaders there?
Chief cheerleaders were there. Yeah. So what we did, typically we have 4 squads, 8 in each corner, and we rotate every quarter. In this case, we had 2 squad lines per side, and then the Chiefs had theirs on the other side. So we always stayed on the Eagles side. Okay. Which was great.
Yeah.
So that was different, was obviously having a whole other squad line with us, which also means having their captains with us. So switching off calling, because captains typically call out what dance to do, and then we just pick it up.
How many captains?
So that was definitely different. There are 8 captains.
8, wow.
2 per squad.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which is really great, because then they can also trade off and have someone else to, like, be there. It's really wonderful. And I adored my captains this year. I feel like I learned so much from them. I just spend the entire game staring at them, being like, I will not miss a call.
Captains have to have some kind of they have to be kind of in for next year, right? Oh, come on. All right.
No, unfortunately, captains have been cut. There was a captain who got cut coming into this year, which is heartbreaking for her. I can't imagine how she must be feeling. Man. So that there's really no guarantee.
Does the coach just pick captains, or does the team vote? Or
for captains, the coaches pick.
Okay,
the coach and choreographer pick. People put their name in, like submit their name, and I think maybe a reason why they want to be captain, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to lie when I say I did not take notes, because I was not eligible to be captain because it's my rookie season. Mm-hmm. So I did not take notes. But then for Pro Bowl, we send, every team who has cheerleaders sends a cheerleader to Pro Bowl. Oh, wow. And that the team picks. Oh, okay. So we got to vote for our Pro Bowl cheerleader, who was one of our captains. Her name's Ariel, her 6th year on the team. Oh, she was awesome. So deserving. And she actually killed it at Pro Bowl. That's awesome. And then immediately came to the Super Bowl. So she was
And that's it. That's everywhere. Usually in Hawaii, right?
Pro Bowl?
Isn't it?
It's been in Florida the past.
Okay.
It used to be in Hawaii. Gotcha. The past couple of years, it's been in Florida. So she literally flew Florida on like last Tuesday, and then on Monday, I think flew to Philly to change out some stuff, and then flew down to New Orleans.
Okay. All right, Super Bowl. I can't remember if we had started recording yet. You said you knew you would win. You didn't know you would crush. But how nervous were you?
Okay. I didn't know we would win. I trusted my team. I trusted my team to get the job done. But they dominated. I mean, go ahead. I was so nervous. Like the Chiefs, of course, they beat us 2 years ago.
2-time defending champions.
And then won again, and then had come all the way back. So I'm like, okay, of course, like this is the team to beat. They were the number 1 seed in their division, which means they had a bye week, so they had extra rest leading up to this. And they're the Chiefs, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're a very good team. They had before the Super Bowl had only lost 1 game all season, which I cannot say for the Eagles. We won many, many games, but more than one. Yeah. But we lost more than one. So I was very nervous, but also trusted them. And the entire team, of course, we're just looking for signs, all lead off to be like, okay, what signs do we see? Like we name our squad lines. So my squad lines were called the Liberty Bells, Bells, because we're all pretty girly on my squad line. And we went to an event for Super Bowl week called Taste of the NFL, and it was hosted at the World War II Museum. Mm-hmm. And at that museum in New Orleans, there was a exhibit about the Victory Bells. who were women who in World War II, but the victory bells.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my God, it's a sign. Or during halftime, the halftime performance, which was incredible. There were poles and people climbing the poles at the halftime routine. We're like, they climbed the poles. Eagles are going to win. Like literally any sign, you're like, it's going to happen.
What was the halftime score?
I think it was 20-0 or 23-0.
Yeah, something like that. Did you, that's just within reach to me of not being able to relax.
No.
Like
first of all, we're up against Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Yeah. Second of all, if we got 20 points during a half, and they got 0, there's no reason during the second half they could get 20 and we could get 0. Yeah. Right? Smart. Like that, it was the same amount of playing time left as had already been played. So I was not like, it's in the bag. I was just like, oh, it's another sign. It's going to be okay.
Without knowing anything, I think if it got up to 30 plus to 0, I'd start to be like, this is a done deal. But yeah, around like 3 touchdowns or so, I'm like, that's got comeback city written all over it. I'd be terrified if I was the Eagles. Because at that point, I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is in the locker room, like licking his chops, like this is what I want. But oh my gosh, you guys just came out, put your foot on the gas. Even it was insane. Listen,
as the Eagles say, hungry dogs run faster.
Oh my gosh,
we were starving.
Jalen Hurts, his interviews, I think some people would say he had like no character, but I'm like, he's just a cold-blooded killer. When he was just like,
he's so insanely reflective.
He was just chilling, and I'm like, that's terrifying. He's just like, he's like, hey, we won. That's it.
I think Jalen Hurts is very, very reflective, and when he speaks, he uses every word.
He speaks like he's like a 40-year-old veteran, but he also he is a huge dude. But how old is he?
26.
Yeah, I was gonna say 25 or 26, right? Gosh, y'all are set.
Yeah,
y'all are set.
It's amazing. It's hard. It's sometimes hard to be like, I just want to enjoy this now, but I'm already thinking about next season for myself, positions, for the player, right? Like we still have the majority of our team back next year. It's hard not to constantly think forward.
Crazy.
But I'm trying.
Halftime. I texted you before the game. I was hoping so bad that you guys were going to be part of it. Somehow, but you got to watch from the field, right?
We did, which is really neat.
How was that?
Unfortunately, it wasn't as neat as I was hoping. So because we're on the field,
I assume it'd be kind of weird where you have to be, but yeah.
No, it's not that it's weird. It was just that the logistics of building a stage with the lights and the sound and everything required, and you have to set it up and take it down in such a short amount of time. Hundreds of ops people rush the field, set it up, and then stand to the side right in front of us.
Wow.
So actually we couldn't see anything except for what was on the Jumbotron because there's just so many people to set it up and tear it down.
Yeah.
And that's a short time period. So it was just flooded and we were like, well, but it was still amazing. We were still at like a Kendrick Lamar concert.
Crazy.
Live.
Crazy.
Even if we couldn't see it. We were all joking of like, we'll have to go back and watch the game.
Yeah.
Because during the pregame show, we're lined up in the tunnels. We couldn't really see it. Halftime show, we were blocking out the ops people, so we couldn't really see it. Obviously, I didn't see a single commercial. So like I just saw on TikTok that there was the Rocket Mortgage commercial with Country Roads. Yeah. And then they played it at the stadium and everyone at the stadium was like singing along and da-da-da. But we didn't know about the commercial.
Gotcha.
So they just played the song and it's such a nice song. Yeah. Of course everyone would sing along, but we didn't know the connection.
Right.
I need to like go back and watch it all.
Yeah, that makes sense. What was the energy like during halftime? Because I'm sure you've seen via the internet of all the discourse surrounding the whole halftime show, but what was it like? Being there and kind of seeing it live, was the energy, I don't know, was it hyped? Was it palpable, the tension?
Yeah, it was absolutely hyped.
Okay.
Everybody was so excited. There were we couldn't quite pick up all the imagery until after. Sure. But they were, even in the moment, we were like, wait, they're making the American flag. Mm-hmm. Wait, they're doing this. Wait, they're doing that.
Serena's really up there crib walking.
Didn't see Serena. Yeah. We missed her.
That was crazy.
So now I need to go back and watch it. Because the other thing with the Jumbotron is that they had to keep switching off where it was played because of, again, the logistics of like where the camera was. You don't want the Jumbotron in the background of the shot. So they would only play it at a time. So if the camera was this way, it'd be playing on this Jumbotron, but then the angle would switch. So then the Jumbotron had to switch.
Gotcha.
So we were just like,
yeah. You'll appreciate this. I saw a good meme. I mean, the memes are money, but it had Kendrick walking back and forth with the cameras and saying that he rushed for more yards than the Chiefs did.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought that was fun. I thought you liked that. But he was moving. I mean, he really was. Like, it shows him, like, speed walking like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, he covered some ground. He covered the whole field, really.
Dang, good for him. And didn't see it. Wouldn't know.
Oh, you gotta go back and watch.
I gotta go back and watch it.
In a way, we had a better view than you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It was a totally different experience. And that's one of the things that's so weird, I guess, is because we watch all the plays, right? As cheerleaders, like we turn around and we watch the play. First of all, because we want to watch our team. But second of all, because the whole point is that we're cheering for the team. We need to know what the team is doing. But then we turn around and cheer for the crowd. So like I don't see touchdown dances because we're celebrating with the crowd, right? We're not celebrating with the team.
Okay.
So it's things like that. So it's like I see every play, but I don't see after the play the outcome because we're already reacting to the play with the crowd.
Yeah.
So that's also very different, I suppose.
How much in your routines, how much athleticism is involved? Because that's what I meant to ask this. That's something I noticed in the DCC documentary is from, and I've noticed this as we've tried to look out for you on TV. They don't show you guys very much, but what I do see of the cheerleaders is, and this is going to sound very ignorant of me, but what I notice is I don't associate NFL cheerleaders with a lot of athleticism. Not that you can't be athletic, but that I notice you guys doing just stuff with the crowd, and it looks like not the most like intricate routines of what I see, on TV. And then I watched that documentary and I'm like, holy crap, you guys are nuts. Like the stuff you guys are doing is crazy.
If we're on TV, we get, only a couple of seconds at a time.
Just like some pom-poms and that's
usually
it.
Those couple of seconds, right, as you see the pom-poms. But no, we're dancing the whole time. So at a typical Eagles game, we go out, we do a pregame dance, which is a full routine. And then we walk around, we build a tunnel for the players to walk through. We walk out, and then we set up in our corners where we're dancing in between every play. And then, and those routines are like mini routines, right? Because it's the music that they play between plays. So we'll dance for like 15 seconds here, 20 seconds there, whatever. Yeah. And then we dance at typically the first quarter break. And then we switch corners. We're dancing for another quarter. We break for halftime. Most of the times. Sometimes we do a halftime routine. And then we're back out for third quarter. Then we dance for a third quarter break. Those dances are in the end zones. And then switch corners again to dance for fourth quarter. So we're moving and dancing the entire game. And if you go to a game, you see it. That in between every play, we're not just like, yay. Yeah. It's a full like choreographed routine.
Yeah.
But just on TV, they're always panning and moving. So when we're shown, it's typically you see like a pump.
Gotcha.
And so you don't see that it's a full dance.
Would you say that NFL cheerleaders are more, again, my terminology will probably sound pretty ignorant, but are you more like in the more adjacent to professional dancers versus like gymnasts, or is there a lot of crossover?
It actually depends on the team. Most teams are more dance-based. There's only, I think it's 2 teams that have a stunt team. It's definitely the Ravens, and I think it's the Rams.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. I am not sure because I've never looked out at the out west team so much. So they do like stunt and more like cheerleading that you think of.
Like college stuff that I assume.
Yeah. Versus like we're dancers. So if you ever heard of like a Palms team for high school or a dance team in colleges, that's more what we do.
Okay. Do any of you guys go on to do like just professional dancing and not cheerleading? I don't know. I feel like some of the women in the documentary, whether they made it or not, they would move on. And like one of them was planning to do like to try and make the Rockettes or something.
I think it's hard to do that only because, of course, our season is so long that you really can't do both at the same time.
Or even like after, if you've moved on or something.
Yeah, after. A lot of people do, but also a lot of people then kind of choose to move on with their life. Yeah. And, you know, motherhood is a really big stopping point for a lot of people, but not everybody. Ravens in particular, one of the reasons that I respect and love them so much is they have so many moms on their team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I just think that that's incredible.
That is incredible.
See these women literally build another human and then go back.
I don't think I saw any of that
I really respect.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any of that in this doc. I feel like there was a good amount of, which I don't know if this is all a plus, but some of it sounded like it could have been a little bit toxic, but there was a lot of legacy on the team. There was like a lot of moms had been on the team in the past. And I think the coach of the Dallas team had cheered with a lot of these girls' moms, which didn't, I don't mean problematic or toxic and like with nepotism necessarily. It's kind of the opposite. I feel like they were actually, the coaches were harder probably on them. Like, hey, you're not like that. I know your mom, we're friends. That means nothing. And it really didn't. They were cutting those girls left and right.
Yeah. I think legacy on DCC is a lot more common than other teams. Yeah. And other teams, again, different teams just have different, like, excuse me for a better word, but vibes. DCC is typically younger, and they are very, I don't want to say more technical, but because of that kick line that they have, they have to have that specific skill, for example, versus the Eagles. We don't do kick lines. That's not our style. So we don't need that skill. Granted, if you asked, every single person on our team could probably do a very beautiful high kick, but it's just not a requirement in the same way.
Gotcha.
Versus then Ravens, the average age is probably a little bit older because they have some moms and they have and they don't have a cap. So Eagles, we have a cap of 6 years. Okay. So that's just automatically going to, hit 6 years versus somebody on the Ravens. I think she's going into her 14th season.
Whoa.
Maybe even more, which is incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, but because they don't have that cap.
Yeah. So
it really, the style of every team is very, very different. And so it's indicative then of the type of people who are on the team.
Okay. What's your, do you guys have a signature, song or dance that you guys do versus, I remember, what was it in Thunderstruck in the DCC one. Do you guys have one?
Yeah. Ours is really our fight song.
Okay.
Like the Fly, Eagles, Fly.
Gotcha.
That one.
Okay. No, that's all.
You guys don't want to hear me sing, so I'm not singing it. You're so welcome.
I know a handful of Eagles fans that'll listen. They'd like to hear that.
Sing along with me.
Yeah.
So that's definitely ours. And then the other thing that's really cool about us is that our uniforms were actually designed by Vera Wang.
Oh wow!
So we have this very classic, elegant uniform.
Do you guys have any? I knew who that was, so that wasn't over my head. Do you? I don't know. Is there any? Legendary is the only word I can think of, but piece of clothing of the uniform that is well known that I don't know, passed down. Of course, in Dallas it was the boots or something that they had a boot guy. That this was awful. this might have been the worst part. As a boot guy that came in and like tailor made every single pair for each cheerleader, but it was before the whole team was picked. So I was like, and then they got to give them back, and I'm like, that is awful. Like they're getting fitted, like, I mean, they're getting, measured every inch of their body, it seemed like, and including the boots, and it's like a prestigious thing like to have. I mean, it's like essentially here's your jersey. Oh, never mind. Anyway, is there anything like that? Like, what's that process like?
Our uniforms are tailor-made for us. So it's the Vera Wang design. And then we come in, they have a bunch of sizes, a bunch of samples. We try it on, they measure it. So for example, something that's very funny, I'm 5'3". And so my leggings were, a size, but then it was extra, extra, extra short.
Oh, okay. That's the size? Okay.
that was my size.
Extra.
For those. And then and when we pick up our uniforms, it's amazing. It's the best feeling because you pick up your uniform and there's a tag that says made for Elana for the Philadelphia Eagles season 24-25.
Okay.
And you're just like,
that's crazy.
For me.
Yeah. Wow.
So I still have all my tags saved because it's so incredibly special to be like, I was picked for this team. This uniform was made for me.
Yeah, man. All right, 2 more things. I gotta ask this. You're very proud of who you are and your culture, your Jewish heritage. What's it like? Like, do you feel like, I don't know if you're aware of this at all, but like, do they factor in? I mean, let's talk a little bit about DEI, but. What's that process like? Do you have a pretty diverse squad, and do you feel like you're made aware, like you mentioned interviews, of them factoring that in at all?
I do, because I brought my Judaism pretty strongly. Something that I noticed about the Philadelphia Eagles last year, at least, is that they did not have any Jewish members on their team. And I think in the Philadelphia area, where there's a lot of Jewish people and a lot of Jewish culture, I thought that was really important. And so I actually brought it up in my interview.
Oh, wow.
And pointed it out. And it was something that I knew was kind of I don't want to say it was a risk, because, of course they're not going to cut me because I'm Jewish, but to call them out like that is a little bit,
I say that's a risk.
Potentially risky. Yeah. But on this team, it has been nothing but the opposite. So we had practice on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and I knew I could take off. They told me, but I decided for myself and my own self that I would feel better being at practice. But I brought apples and honey and explained the relevance of apples and honey and Rosh Hashanah, just to have a sweetened year. So I passed out apples and honey sticks and said the prayer with them, and they loved it. They're like, this is so interesting. This is so cool. Like, I want to learn more. So then on Hanukkah, I brought a dreidel and geltz and a menorah, and I lit the menorah. Well, it was a light up menorah because I didn't think open flame would be appreciated in that setting. So, but I shared it with them, and again, did the prayers and shared it at the NFC Championship. There's a prayer that Jews say when you reach a milestone. So I said that prayer and explained it, and every time I've been met with nothing but excitement and interest to learn more, and thanking me for sharing it.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really nice. And we have a very diverse squad. We really have everybody. And I think that not only is that intentional by the Eagles, but it's sought out because they want everybody represented, and they really want to bring everybody and make sure that every single Philadelphia fan can see themselves in the Philadelphia Eagles cheerleaders.
Wow, that's incredible. I'd say, so obviously it's not the first time you've been in this kind of situation, but you just as a adult or professionally, but I think it was somewhat courageous or risky to even bring that up. And I'd say, because I'd wonder, does the thought go through your mind of people that aren't aware that you're Jewish, and I'd say you're probably white passing oftentimes. Did it occur to you, sure, even in that, whether or not you thought it was actually risky at all to think this actually really is it's probably more risky because I could easily just not bring up that, I don't know, I am Jewish, and that I feel like you're speaking up in a little more profound way because of what I'd say some assumptions could be of the organization or any organization, really.
Yeah. Honestly, I felt less at risk with the organization, just knowing what I knew about them before, and now it being affirmed. The owner is Jewish of the Eagles, so
okay.
I was less nervous with the organization. I was actually more nervous just because, of course, anti-Semitism is on the rise in the current culture. And as a Philadelphia Eagles cheerleader, like, I do have a platform, and I would not say I'm a celebrity. I'm not recognized on the street when I'm out of uniform, which is something that I love because I never ever want to be a celebrity. Oh my God. But that actually made me more nervous, was if my Judaism was shared that way, like, would there be comments or would there be backlash or would, anything like that by the wider, just American people, because anti-Semitism is on the rise in America. So far, I have not experienced anything. Thank goodness. I was really nervous. I did a Hanukkah shout out for the Eagles on the Eagles cheer page. But it was nothing but nice comments. Nothing bad happened, thank goodness. And so that was also really nice to be like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. All right. Last thing. I read something that I think Dan posted about you, but let's do I'll fanboy a little bit. So were there any, I mean, you guys do a lot of meet and greets and stuff. You mentioned meeting, at least for a minute, Bradley Cooper. Did you meet any, like, what was that like? And then do you rub shoulders with any other famous people besides NFL players, obviously?
Right. The biggest people that we met, so I met Bradley Cooper at an event for, there was a really just generous, selfless Eagles fan. His name is Declan. He's 8 years old. He was in and out of the hospital 17 times. And so it got wind that he was an Eagles fan. So the Eagles got him surprise tickets to the NFC Championship game. And at the NFC Championship game, he met Bradley Cooper, who's a huge Eagles fan. And
so he's actually an Eagles fan. I remember him from Silver Linings Playbook.
Yes, Bradley Cooper is actually an Eagles fan. He's not just a celebrity going to Eagles games. He's a very dedicated Eagles fan.
That's what Silver Linings Playbook had, right? With the Eagles were the prominent part of that. Yeah, okay.
Yep, because of Bradley Cooper, not just because I picked the Eagles.
Gotcha.
And so then Declan was just like so wonderful and so generous. He got surprise tickets, and he also got surprised $1,000. He was at a dollar store, and he gave the $1,000 to everybody else in the store.
Oh my gosh!
Which
this is a kid?
Yeah, wow. A kid, an 8-year-old kid. So it was just so beautiful. So then they decided to take a step further for him and surprise him with tickets to the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh!
And Bradley Cooper met Declan at the NFC Championship game, and so we did this whole thing on Good Morning America. And when we were backstage before we surprised him, we're all waiting there. Bradley Cooper was so chill. Like you just wouldn't know he was a celebrity, except for the fact that he's Bradley Cooper. But like the way he chatted with all, he just like standing there and chit chatted and was like, yeah. I was like, are you going to the Super Bowl? He was like, yeah, I'm going down on Sunday. We're like, oh, we're going down on Thursday. Cool. Like, so chill.
Finger guns,
but they were showing Declan's story on the TV, and in it shows Declan meeting Bradley Cooper. And as I turned it, I was like, look, you're on TV. He was like, no.
Man, that's awesome.
It was just like so that was cool. The other really cool one, this didn't happen to me, but it happened when I was there. We have one male cheerleader. His name is James, and Pete Davidson has been coming to a lot of our games.
Okay.
We're on Bourbon Street getting beignets, and Pete Davidson walks by and goes, hey, James.
Whoa.
So Pete Davidson called James by name, recognized him on the form, called him out by name. So that was really, really cool. See.
Were they buddies or?
Just from the games.
Wow.
I think, James is, of course, a little bit more prominent because he's the only male team. So
that's crazy.
It's a little easier to find him. And so they recognized him and called him out. Just so cool.
Man, I've ran into famous people like a handful of times, and I just complete deer in the headlights. Not even like, deer in the headlights is probably a good description. I feel like that'd probably be the worst part of being a celebrity, if people just because you are just a person, but people not knowing how to interact with you.
Right. That's another reason I never want to be a celebrity, because I'm also really bad with celebrities, because I err on the side of like, I don't want to bother you because I'm sure that you are bothered all the time.
Yeah.
Then I'm just like, ugh.
Yep.
Like even when I run into players, you know, I'll wave or I'll nod, and then I'll just move, like I won't even say anything to them. And it's not because of any rule or anything like that. It's just, I'm like, you are probably bothered all the time, and I will not be another one.
Yeah. Yeah. At a wedding, we were at the Four Seasons in DC. So one of the fancier ones we've shot. That's not normal for us. But we were there, and I was in the hallway waiting to get into the bridal suite to take pictures of the bridal party. And me and the groomsmen were standing in the hallway, and I'm like leaning against the hotel door. I don't know why I'm leaning, but the door, this is not cool though. The door opened, and I just hear a voice like, "Oh, hey, excuse me." I'm like, "Oh yeah." And like I turn around, I like just move. I was like, "Oh yeah, sorry." I turn around and like look up, because there's I don't know if you know who Victor Oladipo is, NBA player, but I'm like, oh my God. You know, I'm 5'8", he's towering over me, and I'm like, "You're Victor Oladipo." Like I told him his name, and I was like, "Oh my gosh. You're having a great season." Like this, hey, and like, I mean, just super embarrassing. I'm with all the groomsmen, and they're like, "Dude, what? Like, was that?" And I'm like, "Do you guys know who that is?" Starstruck. Only like 2 of them knew who he was anyway, because he's like not the most famous NBA player, but enough. And he walked away, and I squandered it because of how, you know, I sounded like an 8-year-old myself. But then I was like, I'm holding a camera, and I didn't even take a picture. And so later I told Kate, I'm like, I just ran into I said an NBA player. Like, what are you talking about? How? And I was like, it happened. I don't have any pictures. No one will ever know. But
you know,
I know this happens. These guys saw me. But yeah, anyway, I'd imagine I would just consistently do that if I was in your line of work.
Yeah, I've done that. I worked the employees' holiday party, and I saw this cutie girl in this amazing red dress. I was like, "Oh my God, your dress, I love it." She's like, "Thank you." And I was like, "What's your favorite part of today?" And she's like, "We got to make ornaments with a 3D printer." And I was like, "That's so cool. Can I see it?" It's like, "Yeah." "Hey, Dad." Dad walks over, and he holds out his wrist, because he has all the ornaments on his wrist, and it's Nick Soriani, the head coach. I couldn't even make eye contact with the man. And I wanted to be like, because I'm in uniform, so I wanted to be like, "Sir, I promise I know who you are. I'm so starstruck." So he holds out his wrist. She was like, "I made the Grinch." And I was like, "You sure did."
Yeah. That's fun.
I had no idea. I just loved her dress. So I just chatted. Like, that was really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a blindside. Dad.
Yeah. "Hey, Dad." I was like, "Oh my God." And then at the Super Bowl, you know, we were walking by somewhere, and I was walking this way, and Jalen Hurts was walking this way, and I was just like, I literally made eye contact for 0.2 seconds, and then I just beelined.
Be cool.
Well, be cool, but also it was Saturday night, so it was Saturday before the Sunday, and I was like,
"Yeah, yep.
You do you, bud. I'm not gonna stay sharp."
Yep. You don't want.
I was like, I don't want to say anything weird. I don't want to like throw you off. Like,
yeah, you don't want anything to be tracked back to blaming you for anything.
And if anything, you know, it's because I didn't say anything.
Yeah, that's how I'd see it too.
You're just focused.
Yeah. Yep.
Just kidding. I have nothing to do with me.
All right, I gotta let you go, Elana. Thank you so much for hopping on here. Congratulations!
Oh, man, my pleasure.
I mean,
yay!
This is
Super Bowl 59 champs.
Incredible. Hoping for a repeat for y'all next year.
Me too. Oh God.
Hopefully
we'll have to go to California.
Hopefully next season we'll lock into more games and see if we can. I liked following your Dan and then your friends who managed to catch little snippets on the TV for social media. I'm like,
listen, Dan was my number one support system. Yeah. He posts. I'm terrible at posting. I just like, every year I'm like, I'm going to be better about it. And every year it just doesn't happen for me. But thank goodness Dan is really good about it. And so he'll like take pictures and post and be like, Elana, where's the content? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm on it.
No, we had our kids looking out on the TV. We were like, hey, look, because they don't care about football. But we're like, hey, our actual friend, you could see her on there. So every time he scored, which was a lot, we're like, all right, look. And I think we saw like a glimpse of you a few times. But otherwise, I was like, man, they're just watching. The cameras are going to just watch the game, which makes sense. But anyway.
Yeah. Listen, you start somewhere, you know, and then get them into football eventually.
All right. I'll let you go. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. As always, music you're listening to is done by our guy, Dylan Dent, and our artwork is created by Ashley Bush. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
The nightmare might scare you, no worse than reality. They hunt you by day, R.I.P. Ahmaud Arbery. Everybody got a time, but that's less than comforting. I hope I'm alive by the time they choose to comfort me. Mosquitoes in the vein, or leeches on my soul. This money on my mind is a fracture in my bones. You get crippled by continuing existence like a ghost. And they wonder why we drink, and they wonder why we smoke, and they wonder why we think that everything's a joke. I'm shocked that we can sleep, must be the thought of letting go.